Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today is going to be a super simple video. I'm going to share my Nonfiction November TBR. Now, I don't think I knew that Nonfiction November was actually a thing until recently, and I think the person who normally hosts it isn't doing it right now, so I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to read some nonfiction that I have been wanting to read, and I have a lot of that on my shelf that I haven't finished. A lot of them have been on TBRs before, and I haven't gotten to them. I think a lot of booktube is about like the fiction books, and that's fine. But fiction has been a bit of a disappointment for me as of recently, except for like literally at the end of October. So I think I'm going to take a break from fiction and steer it into some fun nonfictions. Um, I'm very much a science person, so some of these are going to be science related, of course. And the first one I'm going to actually put on the CBR is Chasing Shadows, Unraveling the Mysteries of the Great White Shark by Greg Skomal with Rhett Talbot. I have been reading this book since June. It has constantly been put on the back burner because of what I had been reading at the time, what fiction I was reading at the time, and I want to finish this one so bad. It is basically Greg Skomal and his story on how he became from what I'm understanding, it's how he kind of became the expert on white sharks that he is, and how he got there, and what he knows, and what we've learned since like the 60s and the 70s. It is so interesting so far. I'm on page 112 out of like 300 and something pages. I've already tabbed this thing to death, and I've still got over half this book to read. So I'm super excited to finish this book. I'm loving this so far. I like anything really marine biology related, so sharks to me are still really fun, although I'm very much an orca person, orca enthusiast. This has been a very fun read, and it's gotten me interested in sharks in general. So I wanted to buy like one more book on sharks, but then this kind of leads me into my next read. My husband was like, why don't you get out of your comfort zone? So I bought another book, and it's The Radium Girls, The Dark Story of America's Shining Women. This is about the women who were severely affected in the radium dial factories. I believe there was some sort of radium in watches that were affecting these women and giving them different um, issues and disorders and things. And this is basically their story. It's kind of in my realm, but it's also like history. So this was actually a recommendation from my husband to try and get me out of my marine biology comfort zone. And it's like 500 pages. I think it's big. But I'm really hoping to get into this one this month as well. And I'm very excited for this. And it's also something different. So this should be very interesting. The next one is actually a reread. I read this back in 2023 via audiobook. I, at some point, I think it was last year, purchased the physical hard copy, and that is Orca, How We Came to Know and Love the Ocean's Greatest Predator by Jason M. Colby. This is basically the history of humans being super terrified of Orcinus orca to how we've come to know and love this animal since probably the 70s, 60s, 70s, probably 60s, because I believe the first orca captured was in the 60s, and I believe that was Moby Doll. And this kind of goes into like a deep history of about orca capture, captivity, how that's changed our perspective. As much as we hate that kind of thing, it was important to us changing our perspective on these animals and understanding them. One of the lines that caught me off guard when I was reading this in audiobook, because orcas rely very heavily on noise and sounds, like they echolocate, so they have to focus on those clicks. They call to each other. One of the lines that Colby uses was, do young orcas fear silence the way young children fear the dark? That has stuck with me for the last 2 years, and I really want to read this again. I want to find it. I want to highlight that one specifically. But it'd also be really nice to just annotate the rest of it and just give this a good reread as someone who loves orcas. And I'm so looking forward to rereading this and annotating it. This is a really good book for orca lovers. It's really fascinating, and I know I loved it. I think I gave it 5 stars, which is weird because it's like a nonfiction. It's really weird rating nonfictions, but I'm excited for this reread. And the last book on this TBR is a little bit harder for me. It is the only memoir on this TBR, and it is Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. I've had this book on my shelf for over a year. He passed away 2 years ago, and I still have not read this memoir. So I'm going to finally read his memoir. I also have the audiobook, but I don't know if that will be too hard to kind of listen to because he is the narrator of the audiobook, but it could also be seriously therapeutic for fans. I don't know. So I think I'm going to give this a read. I am a huge fan of, I am still a fan of the show Friends. I have no issue continuing to watch Friends. I still find the show comforting. And I do think this would be a very interesting insight into his life. And I'm excited to read it, but I'm also not. This is like, it's going to be super sad to read this post-mortem. So, but I want to give this a shot. I want to put a memoir in here just so it's not just all science books. But that is it for my November TBR. It's really small, but it's because when it comes to me and nonfiction, I'm not the fastest reader. I don't read very fast as a rule. So trying to get through nonfiction books, especially since, like I said, Chasing Shadows, I've been on this thing since June, but it's been constantly on the back burner. So I think taking a month to just read some nonfiction and just read some of these books that I've been placing on the back burner to read the biggest fantasy right now, or a fantasy book, or a mystery book, or be in like certain moods, because I've actually been in the mood for this one for like 2 weeks. I picked this up at the end of October, so I'm really excited to get back into this. I have like a whole ambience for it too, which is just so funny to me. But yeah, so that is my TBR for Nonfiction November. I will say here that I'm probably only going to release 2 videos this month because, like I said, nonfiction to me takes forever, and I just think it would just take me so much longer to read any of this if I'm filming myself. So I think I'm only going to release 2 videos this month. It'll be this one, which is the Nonfiction November TBR, and then a wrap up at the end of the month to see what I got through and see what I can do different next year or next time. So you're not going to hear from me as much this month, but it's not like I'm not taking a break from reading or anything, just from filming, just so I can read my nonfiction more efficiently without, having to make sure the camera's in the right place and da-da-da-da-da. It'll just make my life a little easier trying to get through these nonfiction books. So I guess I'll see you guys at the end of the month then, and I'm so excited for this month and being able to just read some nonfiction for 30 days. And I will see you guys later. I'll see you at the end of the month, and I hope you guys have a wonderful November and a wonderful Thanksgiving for those who celebrate. Leave a shark emoji at the end if you made it this far, because this is the first book I'm going to be reading. Read a shark emoji. Just leave the shark emoji at the end if you made it this far, because it's just fun. And I will see you guys in the next video. I'll see you guys at the end of the month. Hopefully I'll have gotten through a good chunk of these books, if not all of them. Not likely it's going to be all of them, but hopefully I'll have gotten through a good chunk. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.